Hello everybody, and welcome to the fourth and final installment of my series on Ozone 7's vintage modules. We've been using the various vintage modules to breathe new life into a stereo sample that we're working with in this hip-hop tune, and this final one will be the cherry on top. We've used the EQ to bring out the elements in the signal that we want to hear more or less of, use the vintage compressor to control the dynamics of the sections of the signal that needed it. The vintage tape gave a warm distortion and breathed a little bit of life into the upper frequencies, and now we're going to contain the overall dynamics of the signal with our limiter. Now this particular sample that we're working with is quite dynamic, and it could use a little bit of containment in the dynamics. In the vintage limiter here, we have three different modes that we can work with. A very clean modern mode, a tube mode that has some saturation characteristics, and an analog mode that is wonderful in the low end. So let's try all three of them. I'm not going to do a ton of gain reduction here. I don't believe in crushing the bejesus out of any signal, but in particular, this is not the overall mix. This is just a sample within the overall mix, and it's going to get probably another compressor or limiter at the end of the signal chain on the mix bus. So I don't want to do a whole lot here, but I can contain the low end drum that's in this sample a little bit and improve the overall smoothness of this loop, which is integral to the overall song. Wonderful. So you notice that the difference in these different modes is fairly significant. The modern version sounds to me a little bit more like the maximizer module, this one. Tube has a bit of saturation characteristic, much like the exciter's tube, and even the vintage tape a little bit. And the analog module definitely sounds very much like an analog compressor limiter to me, and does a wonderful job on this particular loop, I think, of keeping that low end nice and round and percussive, bumpy. You'll notice I brought the ceiling down to -1 because I don't want to send anything full scale all the way down to my mix bus. I can of course contain this later, but just to give myself a little bit of room to work with beyond this signal. And I found a threshold down in -2 range here. Flattened out those low bass notes just slightly so that they're more in character with each other. They're more in same volume with each other. It does remove a bit of the dynamics of the performance of that drum, but as a hip-hop song, this loop is the primary loop that runs throughout the song, and as such, right now it's working kind of as a kick drum. So now I'm going to take a moment and bypass the various modules that we've worked with up till now so that you can hear their overall effect on the sound of this loop. Check it out. One more feature I'd like to demonstrate here before we sign off is this automatic gain match button. Looks like a little ear. I'm going to turn that on, and this will do its best to match the gain of the incoming signal with the outgoing signal. That way, as we're previewing the bypass state, we're not being influenced by a great big change in volume. We'll always prefer a louder signal. So by engaging this little ear, we're going to be able to bypass the overall signal and hear the two signals side by side without a great big gain change between them. It's very interesting. Awesome. Really useful in terms of hearing the overall effect that you've made on a particular signal. Let's put this into context with the rest of the song and check out what it sounds like.
Here to make amends and tie up the loose ends. Enough of the pretend. This is your reality check. You wanna be fresh, come correct with your manners. Thought forms appear, so what you thinking, man? Is some things are just gonna happen. I remember telling this to a cutie after being up in her action. She said, people say you think you're the main attraction. Come now, love, I'm just another son, tripping the light. Fantastic, with much respect for